The station is tilting at 11 degrees now. I measured it with the torpedo level from the machine shop, the one with the cracked vial that I keep meaning to replace, holding it against the doorframe of the radio room, while the walls made sounds that steel shouldn't make. 11 degrees doesn't sound like much until you're trying to operate an ICOM HF transceiver that was bolted to a floor that used to be flat. The chair keeps rolling into the corner. I have to brace my boots against the equipment rack to stay in front of the microphone. My name is James Kowalski. I'm the station mechanic at Outpost Narwhal. Filchner run ice shelf, at least I was. I think what I am now is a man recording his own obituary into a headset that isn't connected to anything anymore. The coax sheared through 20 minutes ago when the east wall of the comms module shifted by 3 inches. But I keep talking. I keep talking because 3 days ago I heard a voice on this radio that shouldn't exist, and I need someone to understand why I stayed to answer it. That was my mistake. That's always been my mistake. 3 days ago, though, down here in August, day is just a number on a calendar. The temperature hit minus 15 Celsius. That doesn't sound warm to most people, but when you've spent 4 months in minus 60 wind chill, minus 15 feels like a heat wave. I knew it was warm because the snow under the snowcat tracks had gone soft enough to compact, and because the ice shelf had started talking. It doesn't usually talk. It creaks, sure. Every ice shelf does. The mass of the Filchner run shifts, settles, adjusts to tides that exist even under 2,000 meters of ice. But that morning, while I was under the Tucker snowcat in the garage module, replacing a thrown track pin, the sound was different. A sustained groan, low and organic, like a whale dying in slow motion. It came up through the steel floor plates and into the aluminum jack stands, vibrating in my molars. I slid out from under the vehicle and sat there for a minute, grease on my wrists, listening. The garage smelled of JP8, lithium grease, and the particular ozone and sweat funk that builds up in a place where nobody showers as often as they should. I wiped my hands on a rag that used to be red and was now the color of old rust, and went to find Voss. Dr. Ingrid Voss was in the galley, standing at the porthole with a mug of coffee that had gone cold an hour ago. She's 52, German, a glaciologist who has wintered 6 times and has the permanently tired look of someone who has seen too many people crack under the weight of the dark. She didn't turn around when I came in. "You hear it?" I asked. "The ice?" "Yes, the models predicted it. The models didn't predict it sounding like that." She turned then. "Voss has this way of looking at you like she's already factored your stupidity into her calculations. Jim, it's thermal expansion. The upper layers are warming faster than the basal ice. It creates stress fractures. It's normal. Nothing down here is normal, Doc. It's Antarctica." She almost smiled. Almost. I went back to the garage and finished the track pin. The snowcat was my project for the week, preventive maintenance, the kind of work that keeps you busy when the sun hasn't risen in 4 months and your brain is trying to convince you that hibernation is a viable option. I was torquing the last bolt when the radio in the corner crackled. It wasn't the VHF. We keep a Motorola base station running on 146.520 for local comms, but this was different. The sound came from the HF rig in the adjacent comms module, the big ICOM that we use to reach McMurdo and Troll, the one that Reyes usually monitors. Reyes was asleep. He'd been on the night shift running atmospheric soundings, and the auto-tuner had apparently found something. "I don't operate the HF, I'm a mechanic. I can fix a diesel generator in a Whiteout, and I can weld aluminum with a rig I built from spare parts, but radio is a black art to me. I know enough to know that I don't know enough." Still, the squelch was open and there was a voice. I walked into the comms module. The red nightlight made the room feel like the inside of a dark room. The ICOM signal meter was bouncing. A man's voice, speaking Swedish, or maybe Norwegian. I don't speak either, but I know the cadence. Short words, musical upswing, a guttural urgency underneath. Then a string of numbers. Coordinates, read in the NATO phonetic alphabet, Alpha, Bravo, 7, 9er. I wrote them down on a grease-stained notepad I pulled from my pocket. I woke Reyes first. Tom Reyes is 29, atmospheric physics. The the kind of kid who got his PhD before he learned how to change a tire. He stumbled into the comms module in his long underwear, blinking behind wire-rimmed glasses, and listened for 30 seconds. "It's a distress call," he said. "How do you know?" The preamble. SOS in Morse, then voice. "It's an automated beacon maybe, with a voice overlay. See the interval? Every 90 seconds, same message." He was right. The signal repeated like clockwork. A burst of static, the voice, the coordinates. Voss came in next, then Chen, then Petty. Marcus Petty is our cook, ex-Army Ranger, 44 years old, with a face that looks like it was carved from the same stone as the ice outside. He stood in the corner with his arms crossed, saying nothing. Voss listened to 2 cycles. "Swedish," she said. "The accent is Gothenburg. He's reading coordinates." "Who is he?" Chen asked. Yuki Chen is our geologist, quiet, the kind of person who notices everything and comments on almost nothing. Voss went to the filing cabinet and pulled out the station atlas. It took her 2 minutes to find it. When she looked up, her face had changed. Not fear, exactly. Something more professional. A recalculation. "Station Trollhättan," she said. "Swedish meteorological outpost. Operational from 1982 to 1989. Buried in a storm. Crew of 4. Presumed dead. Body recovery impossible due to ice accumulation." "Presumed?" Petty asked. His voice is always quiet, but it carries. "They never found the bodies. The station was under 20 meters of snow within 72 hours. It was abandoned. Decommissioned." Reyes checked the coordinates against the GPS. "That's 12 kilometers northeast. Almost due north of our drilling tower." The room got quiet. The 5 of us stood there, listening to a dead man read numbers in a language most of us didn't understand, from a station that had been erased 30 years ago. "It's a recording," Reyes said finally. "A buoy or a beacon that finally got exposed by the warm spell. Ice shift, maybe? A broken antenna making contact." "On HF?" I asked. "A 30-year-old battery." Reyes shrugged, but his hands were shaking. "Stranger things have happened." Voss closed the atlas. "We need to verify. If there's an active emergency beacon 12 kilometers from here, protocol says we investigate. Protocol also says we don't leave the station in a whiteout," Petty said. "It's not a whiteout," Voss said. "It's blowing snow. Visibility is 200 meters. Condition 2, Petty said. Borderline, and getting worse." They looked at each other. I watched them, and I felt that old familiar pressure building in my chest. The pressure that said, these are scientists. They think in terms of data and committees. Someone needs to make a decision. Someone needs to take charge. "I'll go," I said. They all looked at me. "I'm the mechanic. If it's a piece of equipment, I can assess it. If it's something else, I can assess that too. I'll take the snowcat. 2 hours there, 2 hours back. I'll be back before the weather turns." I don't know why I said Chen. Maybe because she was quiet and I thought that meant she wouldn't argue? Maybe because having a PhD along made my decision look less reckless. She looked at me, and for a second I thought she'd say no. Then she nodded. "Fine," Voss said. "But you check in every 15 minutes. If you miss a check-in, we call McMurdo and start a search." "Understood?" "Understood," I said. I was lying. I didn't understand anything yet. The snowcat is a Tucker Terra, a boxy aluminum beast on 4 tracks that looks like it was designed by someone who hated aerodynamics and loved survival. It smells like diesel and old canvas inside. I drove. Chen rode shotgun, wearing her orange parka, her face hidden behind a balaclava and glacier glasses. She didn't talk much. She never does. We left at 9:30 station time. The sky was the color of old pewter, low clouds scudding across a sky that had no sun to hide. The ice shelf stretched in every direction, flat and featureless, the snow blowing in horizontal streams that made it look like the world was being erased and redrawn in real time. I kept my eyes on the GPS. 12 kilometers, bearing 047. At 5 kilometers, the groaning started again, not from the station this time, but from beneath us. The ice shelf speaking directly to the tracks of the snowcat. Chen put her gloved hand on the dashboard, not bracing herself, just touching it. like she was taking the pulse of a patient. "Basal stress," she said. "The warm spell is creating meltwater at the bottom. The shelf is flexing." "Is that bad?" "It's not good." At 8 kilometers, the GPS said we were at the coordinates. I stopped the cat. The wind hit the aluminum shell like a fist, rocking us. I turned on the roof-mounted spotlight and saw nothing. White. Flat. The same featureless plain we'd been crossing for 40 minutes. "This is it," I said. Chen checked her own GPS. She had a handheld unit, military grade, that she used for ice core sampling. "Agreed. But there's nothing here." I opened the hatch. The cold hit me like a physical blow, not the sharp sting of normal Antarctic cold, but a wet, heavy pressure, the kind that gets inside your clothes no matter how good the Gore-Tex. The wind was blowing at 30 knots, gusting higher. I climbed down and walked 10 meters from the vehicle, my boots sinking into snow that had the consistency of wet sand. I turned in a circle. Nothing. No structures, no debris, no antenna. Just ice. I keyed the VHF. "Narwhal base. This is Expedition. We're at the coordinates. Negative contact. Repeat, negative contact. Over." Voss's voice came back, crackling with static. "Copy? Expedition? Any sign of the beacon?" "Negative. Flat ice. No disturbances." "Copy. Recommend you return." I was about to agree when Chen appeared beside me. She wasn't looking at the ground. She was looking at her GPS. "Jim," she said. "What?" "The coordinates. They're drifting." I looked at my own unit. She was right. The numbers were shifting, slowly, almost imperceptibly. The latitude was ticking south. We were standing still, but the coordinates were moving. "GPS error?" I asked. "Not military grade, not both units simultaneously." Then the radio in the snowcat crackled. The HF rig, which I hadn't turned on, which shouldn't have been receiving anything on the local VHF net. The Swedish voice again, louder now, closer, and beneath it, a sound that wasn't in the original transmission, a rhythmic thumping, like someone hitting a metal wall with a wrench. Chen and I looked at each other. Her glasses reflected the gray sky. "We need to go," she said. I didn't argue. We made it back in 90 minutes. I drove faster than I should have, the cat lurching over snow ridges that I would normally have navigated around. The station appeared out of the white like a hallucination, a cluster of blue and white modules that looked obscene against the emptiness. I parked in the garage and we went inside. The others were in the comms module. They didn't look relieved to see us. They looked like people who had heard something while we were gone. "It changed," Reyes said before I could take off my gloves. 20 minutes after you left, the transmission changed." "Changed how?" He played the recording. The Swedish voice was still there, the coordinates, the same mechanical cadence, but after the coordinates there was a pause. Then a new voice. English, American accent. Midwestern flat, the kind of accent that doesn't belong anywhere specific. "Mayday, Mayday. This is Station Narwhal. We have lost structural integrity. Request immediate assistance. Mayday. This is Station Narwhal." I felt a pressure behind my eyes, a sudden lightness in my skull, the sensation of standing up too fast after sitting for too long. "That's our call sign. It's your voice," Petty said. I looked at him. "What?" "Listen again." Reyes rewound, played, and I heard it. Not exactly my voice, but close enough. The cadence, the flatness. The way I say Mayday with the stress on the second syllable, because I was trained by a Coast Guard instructor in Maine who used to beat that rhythm into us. The way I say structural integrity, like I'm reading from a checklist. "That's not me," I said. "It sounds like you," Chen said quietly. "I've been in the snowcat for 2 hours. You were with me." "We know," Voss said. "But Jim, the timestamp on the recording, it was made at 1,430 hours, 40 minutes from now." The room was very quiet. The ventilation system hummed, Outside, the wind had picked up, throwing snow against the module walls in rhythmic sweeps. "That's impossible," I said. "Yes," Voss agreed. "It is." I spent the next 4 hours in the comms module. I told the others I was going to trace the signal, figure out if it was some kind of atmospheric bounce, a harmonic from another station, a prank. I told them I knew what I was doing. That was the lie I told most often, and they believed it because they had no reason not to. I was the mechanic. I fixed things. The truth was that I barely understood the ICOM's secondary functions. I knew how to change frequency, how to adjust the preamp, how to read the S-meter. Beyond that, I was following the manual, page by page, my grease-stained fingers leaving prints on the laminated quick reference guide. Reyes helped at first. He understood radio propagation, skip zones, ionospheric behavior. He ran calculations on his laptop, checking the solar weather, the K-index, the possibility of ducting. "There's nothing in the atmosphere that would create this," he said at hour 3. His eyes were red. He hadn't slept in 20 hours. No solar activity, no temperature inversion strong enough. "The signal is coming from line of sight, Jim, or near to it. But there's nothing out there." "What if it's not coming from out there?" I asked. He looked at me. "What do you mean?" I showed him the direction finder. I'd hooked up the portable loop antenna, the one we use for search and rescue exercises, and I'd taken bearings from 3 points around the station. The garage, the drill tower, the storage module, all 3 bearings converged on a single point, not 12 kilometers northeast, straight down. "The ice," Reyes said. "It's bouncing through the ice." "Ice is a dielectric," I said. I'd read that in the manual, or maybe in a magazine in the galley. Radio waves can propagate through it, especially low frequencies. The shelf is 2,000 meters thick here. But a signal from below us? What's below us? I didn't answer. I went to the drill logs instead. Station Narwhal is an ice core station. We drill deep cylinders, analyze the layers, ship them back to universities where people in warm offices study climate history. The current hole was at 2,847 meters. I'd been down there 2 days ago, servicing the winch motor, listening to the drill bit grind through ice that was older than human civilization. I pulled up the last core sample log. At 2,847 meters, the drill had hit a void. Not rock, not water, a cavity, 4 meters across, according to the borehole camera. The camera had shown darkness, absolute darkness, and the darkness had shown something else too, a reflection that shouldn't have been there, a glint of metal or glass, something geometric and artificial. The log entry for that depth was written by Chen. It said, "Anomaly at 2,847 meters, void detected, core compromised, recommend suspension of drilling pending further analysis." There was no further analysis. The warm spell had hit, and we'd been too busy keeping the station from melting into slush to worry about a hole in the ice. I stared at the log, then I went to find Chen. I found her in the storage module, inventorying freeze-dried rations. She had a clipboard and a pen, and she was counting boxes with the methodical patience of someone who had decided that if the world was ending, it was still important to keep accurate records. "The void," I said, "at 2,847 meters. You saw something." She didn't look up. "I saw darkness." "The log says something else." "The log says what I was told to say." I leaned against the shelving. The module was cold, colder than the habitation areas, and my breath plumed. "Chen, if there's something under us, I need to know." She set down her pen. When the camera hit the void, it panned. Automatic. The winch has a rotation function. It turned 40 degrees. In that 40 degrees, I saw a wall, flat, vertical, painted blue, a wall, and a window, rectangular, frosted over, but a window. Then the camera failed. The feed went to static. When it came back, the lens was cracked, and there was nothing but ice. Neither of us spoke. The statement sat in the cold air between us, too heavy to move. Then the wall behind her cracked. It wasn't an explosion. It was a sound like a gunshot, a single sharp report, and then a groan, and then the southeast corner of the storage module simply opened. The interior wall, the insulated aluminum paneling, split along a seam. Behind it, there was no insulation. There was ice, blue ice, dense and ancient, and embedded in the ice, perfectly preserved, a door. A wooden door, painted blue, with a brass handle. And on the door, stenciled in faded white paint, the words, Station Trollhättan, Radio Room, no unauthorized entry. The ice had preserved it like a fly in amber. The wood wasn't rotted. The brass wasn't corroded. It looked like it had been installed yesterday, except that it was inside a wall in a station that had been built 30 years after it was buried. Voss and Reyes came running. Petty came too, carrying a fire extinguisher out of habit. We stood there, 5 adults in parkas, staring at a door that shouldn't exist. "Don't touch it," Voss said. I touched it. The brass was cold, colder than the air, a cold that felt like it would stick to my skin and tear it away. I turned the handle. It moved, freely, oiled. The door swung inward. Behind it was a room, small, maybe 10 feet by 10 feet. Walls lined with equipment racks, a desk, a chair bolted to the floor, and on the desk, a radio. An old Harris RF 320, the kind they used in the 80s. The power light was on, green, and the S-meter was bouncing. The room smelled of old paper, of plastic that had off-gassed decades ago and been frozen in place, of a time capsule opened before its time. There was a mug on the desk, coffee inside, frozen solid, the surface perfectly level, as if whoever had been drinking it had set it down and walked away 30 seconds ago, not 30 years. On the desk next to the radio was a logbook. I picked it up. The pages were stiff but intact. The last entry was dated 14 August 1989, 3 days before the station was officially declared lost. It read, "The ice is speaking. We drilled to 847 meters and found the void. The void is not empty. It is a resonator. It stores sound, signal, time. We have been transmitting our distress call for 6 hours, but we are receiving a response. A response from Station Narwhal. We do not know what Station Narwhal is. The coordinates match our location exactly. The voice on the radio sounds like Lars, but Lars is sitting right here. The ice remembers. The ice repeats. We are going down to see what is making the sound. The door to the void is open. We can hear our own footsteps echoing back to us, but we haven't started walking yet." The entry ended there. I read it 3 times. The date didn't change. "Jim," Voss said. Her voice was different now, smaller. "Jim, close the door." I looked up. The radio on the desk, the old Harris, was transmitting. The Vox light was on, and through the static, I could hear my own voice, distorted by delay and depth, saying, "Mayday, Mayday. This is Station Narwhal. We're going down." But I hadn't said that. Not yet. Then the floor tilted. The alarm was Petty's idea. He'd installed a structural integrity monitor last year, a simple tilt sensor in the main HAB module, mostly to satisfy insurance underwriters who had never been south of Christchurch. It screamed once, a high electronic wail, and then the module shifted. I felt it in my knees before my ears registered it. A drop, a settling, like an elevator starting downward. 5 degrees, then 8. "Evacuate," Voss said. She didn't shout. She said it the way she said everything, as a statement of fact. Condition 1. Full evac. McMurdo on HF. Now. Reyes ran for the comms module. Chen ran for the ice core samples because she was Chen and data was life. Petty grabbed the emergency bag. I stood in the broken storage module, looking at the blue door, at the Harris radio with its green light, at the frozen coffee mug. "Jim." Voss grabbed my arm. "Move." We ran. The station was making sounds I'd never heard before. Not the groan of thermal stress, but the shriek of metal under load, the snap of composite materials failing, the bass rumble of massive ice structures rearranging themselves. The floor was at a distinct angle now. The corridor between modules had a slight downhill grade that hadn't been there that morning. In the comms module, Reyes was at the ICOM. McMurdo copies, Condition 1 declared, search and rescue on standby. But there's a storm front moving in, 48 hours minimum before aircraft can launch. We don't have 48 hours, Petty said. The Snowcat, I said. The Tucker. I fixed the track pin, it's ready. Voss looked at me. 5 of us. 1 vehicle. 4 seats with survival gear. We can fit 5, Reyes said. Not with the emergency supplies, Petty said. Not with fuel for 200 kilometers to the fuel depot. I did the math. I did it faster than I wanted to because I was the mechanic and I understood payloads. 5 people, no gear maybe. 5 people with survival bags, fuel, the emergency radio, the GPS. The cat would bog down in soft snow. We'd die 20 kilometers from here, frozen in our seats. Someone stays, I said. No, Chen said immediately. Someone stays with the radio, I said. Calls McMurdo every hour, keeps them updated on our position. If we all leave and the cat breaks down, we're dead. If someone stays and maintains contact, the rescue plane knows where to look. It sounded logical. It sounded brave. It sounded like the kind of decision a leader makes. It was bullshit, and I think Petty knew it. He looked at me with those stone-carved eyes, and I saw him calculate the same payload numbers I had. He saw the fear underneath my certainty, but he didn't call me on it. Maybe because he understood that someone had to stay, and he was glad it wasn't him. Maybe because he knew that my kind of courage, the kind that comes from not wanting to look weak, is still courage, in the end. I'll stay, I said. Voss argued. For 30 seconds, she argued, citing protocol, citing the station chief's responsibility, citing common sense. But the floor tilted another 2 degrees while she talked, and eventually she stopped. She knew, as I knew, that the radio was the lifeline, and someone had to tend it. They left in a hurry. Chen pressed her handheld GPS into my palm. Petty gave me his sidearm, a Beretta M9 that he wasn't supposed to have on station but that I was glad to see. Reyes shook my hand, his palms sweaty and cold. Voss was the last to leave. She stood in the doorway of the comms module, the station now canted at 10 degrees, and looked at me. Jim, she said. I'll be fine, Doc. I'll call you every hour on the VHF. Jim, the logbook, the 1989 entry. You read it. I read it. Station Narwhal didn't exist in 1989. They heard a voice from a future that hadn't happened yet. A future where we built this station, where we drilled that hole, where we answered their call. She paused. What if you're not staying to call for help? What if you're staying because the ice already knows you're here? That's not science, Doc. No, she said. It's not. Then she was gone. I heard the Snowcat start in the garage, the diesel rattle echoing through the modules, and then the sound faded into the wind. I was alone. I've been alone for 6 hours now. The station is at 11 degrees, and I can hear the basal ice giving way beneath the east foundation. It's not a fast process. It's a slow surrender, metal and concrete and ice all agreeing on a new angle of repose. The wind is still blowing. The whiteout has become total. I couldn't leave if I wanted to. The Snowcat is gone, and I am here with the radio. I figured it out an hour ago, or rather, the radio figured it out for me. I was trying to raise McMurdo on the HF, but the coax is sheared, and the antenna is probably lying in a snowdrift, so I started playing with the old Harris in the storage module, the one from 1989. I thought my last stupid thought that maybe I could patch it into the ICOM's power supply, boost the signal, reach someone. I crawled through the broken wall into the blue room and I looked at the waveform on the Harris's analog display. It was a sine wave. Pure, steady, and beneath it, in the phase shift, I could see the echo. The ice doesn't just transmit radio waves, it stores them. The void at 847 meters is a resonant cavity, a natural delay line. A signal goes in, bounces, reflects, refracts through ice of different densities, and comes out days later, weeks later, years later. The distress call from Station Trollhättan that we heard 3 days ago? That wasn't from 1989. Not exactly. It was a signal that had been bouncing in the ice for 30 years, yes, but it was also a signal that had just been transmitted, because time in the ice doesn't move in one direction. And the voice that sounded like me? The Mayday from Station Narwhal? I recorded it. I played it back, side by side with my own voice, speaking the same words into the microphone. The waveforms matched. Not similar, identical. Same phase noise, same breath pattern, same crack in the syllable where my throat was dry. It was me. It is me. I am listening to myself now, from a moment that hasn't finished happening yet, or from a moment that happened hours ago and is still bouncing around down there, looking for a way out. The ice remembers. The ice repeats. The station groaned. A deep, structural sound, the kind that means a weld has failed somewhere load-bearing. The floor dropped another inch. I braced myself against the equipment rack and looked at the Harris radio. The power light was still green. The S-meter was still bouncing. I understand now why the 1989 crew went down into the void. They weren't running towards something. They were running away from the sound of their own voices, calling to them from a future they couldn't escape. I can hear it now through the floor. Not the wind, not the ice. A voice. My voice. Coming from below, distorted by depth and time, but unmistakable. Mayday. Mayday. This is Station Narwhal. We're going down. It's not a rescue call. It's not a distress signal. It's a recording that the ice has been saving. The way it saved the blue door, the way it saved the frozen coffee, the way it saves everything that falls into it. Perfectly. Forever. I'm going to keep talking into this microphone because that's what I do. I fix things. I maintain contact. I don't admit when I'm out of my depth. The ice will take my voice and hold it. And in 30 years, when they build another station on this shelf, when the warm spells come again and the ice shifts and opens new doors, someone will hear me. They'll hear this call and they'll think it's a ghost, or a recording, or a mystery. They'll come to investigate. They'll bring a mechanic who thinks he knows more than he does. They'll drill a hole to 847 meters. They'll find the void, and the void will be a little bigger than it was before. It will have more voices, more footsteps, more time. The floor is tilting past 15 degrees. I have to go now. Not out. Down. The door in the storage module is still open, and beyond it, the ice has cracked further, revealing stairs that lead down into the dark. The stairs aren't from Station Trollhättan, they're from somewhere older. The ice has been collecting things for a long time. I'm taking the radio. The Harris. It's still powered, still transmitting, still green. I don't know what powers it. Maybe the ice itself. Cold is just energy waiting to happen. If you're hearing this, don't come looking for me. Don't investigate the signal. The signal is the bait, and the ice is the trap, and I am the latest fool who thought he could fix something that was never broken. This is James Kowalski, mechanic, Outpost Narwhal. This is my last radio call. The ice remembers. Please,